are you, Sunny?
Good, good. Supreet, how are you?
Good. You are from the UK, correct?
Yes, London.
From London. And
London,
what time
yeah.
it is right now?
3 o'clock, 3 in the afternoon. I think we're about 5 hours ahead of you in
Okay.
Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was your day today?
Not bad. Not bad. It's Friday, so I tend to kind of wind things down a little bit. Uh, podcast or two. So yeah, it's going well, and the
Oh,
weather's
that's
good.
fun. Well,
A rare
tell me a
occasion where
little-
the sun's shining, so that's always good.
that's good. That's good. What is your morning routine usually like?
Morning routine. It varies day to day. I mean, I know it sounds cliched, but literally no 2 days are the same. Um, yeah, if I'm not shooting, then I try to wake up not too early because when we're on set, when we're on sort of long film shoots, early starts, late nights. So yeah, if I'm at home, I'll wake up a little bit later, and it usually consists of editing or catching up with clients, different projects at different stages. Still work, basically. Yeah,
Got it.
even
Okay.
when I'm
Well, I heard lots of things about you, and I'm so excited to do this. And मैं सुनने से that you were actually in Mohabbat. So a little going backtrack, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ journey
wow.
ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਹੋਈ ਆ and ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੋ. I'd love to hear all that.
So ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਚ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ?
ਉਹਨੇ either one.
It should be like I always joke sometimes when I do this that it's like one of those where you press one for Punjabi, two for English, and three for Hindi. You know,
ਨਿਕਲ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ when you're actually speaking to another Punjabi
see,
person. There's certain things that just, come out
you can
easier.
express. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, actually, funny you say that. There's probably objects where I know the Punjabi word for them, but not the English word.
Yep.
You know,
Exactly.
and you find yourself in that situation. So yeah, okay, well yeah, we'll switch between the two. And Mohammed, they're really that wow, day one. That's probably where I got bitten by the filmmaking bug, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Um,
How did
yeah.
how did you get that position, I guess?
So Yash Raj Films, company behind Mohabbatin, they were here auditioning for a small group of guys and girls actually to play the students in the fictional school. Um, I didn't know that it was an audition at the time. There was a local newspaper here called the Eastern Eye, and they ran an ad,
Hmm.
a competition saying, "Would you like to meet, Shah Rukh Khan and Amitabh Bachchan?"
Hmm.
So I just filled in this little form. I was at school at the time, and then I got a response saying, "Come to this." There's like a community hall. We went there, and there were about probably 1,000 other people. And then it dawned upon me that it was actually an audition to be in the film.
Oh.
And then they had to do various. First, they just looked at us. Maybe I don't know who are the most desi looking kids because it's meant to be in India, right? So there's a round of selection based on just purely your looks, and then they had us do a couple of things. Went away. I literally, as I said, I didn't realize it was an audition until I got there. And then a week later, got a letter back in those days saying, there's this film happening and you have to keep it all, quiet. And yeah, we need you for 2 weeks. Early starts at the age of whatever it was, getting on a coach, 3 o'clock in the morning to the sets.
Hmm.
So we were there for
That
2 weeks.
experience being as a young.
Amazing. It's funny because I was at school at the time, so I had to kind of bunk off school for a
Mm.
couple of weeks. So I had, without, and when I was trying to give them, I told a couple of friends, I said, "This is like, why are you not attending school? What's the matter?
Hmm.
Have you left? Have you quit?" I was like, "No, I'm in a, I'm in a Bollywood film." And they're like, "Oh yeah, of course, of course. Who's in the film?" And I was like, "Oh, Amitabh Bachchan and Shah Rukh Khan, but you can't tell anybody." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, of course." And then obviously this is the time before mobile phone cameras and everything were a thing.
Uh-huh.
Um, so nobody believed me. And then one of the days, there was this big secret at the time that Aishwarya Rai is in the film, and
Mm.
she came on set. And on the weekend, I met up with one of my friends. I said, "Oh, guess who else is on the film? Aishwarya Rai." And he's like, "Look, just stop. This is just getting out of hand." But I had a disposable camera that I smuggled
Uh-huh.
on set, so I have pictures. Right? And then at the time, it was getting the photos, the reel, getting
Uh-huh.
it developed, waiting for them to come back, then like proving to my friends. It wasn't just the instant thing where you just send a snap or
Yeah.
whatever. So crazy, yeah, crazy experience. Nobody believed me at the time.
Uh-huh.
Had to keep it quiet.
Hmm.
But as I said, it was that probably I was more interested in what was going on behind the camera as
Mm.
opposed to what was happening in front of the camera. Magic was in the making of the film
Hmm.
rather than the kind of things that were happening in front. So yeah, the interest started there, and it's carrying away. It continues to this day.
So what did you do after that? What was your next project? Or did you pause now that your family thought that, it was a fake news?
Yeah, well, actually, I got pulled back the year later. They were here in England filming Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, so I was on
Uh-huh.
that as well.
Oh.
And obviously, like again, I think people believed me a bit more until I said, "Oh, the film has Amitabh Bachchan, Shah Rukh Khan, Jaya Bachchan, Kajal, Kareena,
Mhm.
Hrithik Roshan," and they're like, "Is really?" I was like, "Yes, really." So yeah, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, I had a very small role in that. You probably in Mohabbat, I was a bit more visible.
Mhm.
Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum is kind of more of a background thing.
Yeah.
Again, I was just there for the film, the exposure to filmmaking. I was more interested in what was happening behind the scenes, as
Mm.
opposed to trying to look.
What intrigued you? What was behind the scene that really caught your eye?
Just so many things. I think it was really taking in how something can be framed to look like something magical. So you take a very normal, mundane scene. It could be a phone booth or whatever. But once you frame it, you light it, and you present it in a particular way, you're looking at that same thing on a screen, and it just looks like something out of this world almost. So
Mm.
for me, the turning something normal, mundane into something like a fantasy and escapist sort of
Mhm.
scene. So for me, it was that transformation and just the whole mechanics of everything with directing the actors and how they do their craft, the prep. It's like almost like a mini theme park.
Mm.
If you're into filmmaking, if you're into that kind of storytelling, yeah, for me it was just a completely new thing at the time.
And so how did you use this experience and exposure for your own creativity?
Uh, for me, the experience came at a turning point where I was kind of making career decisions at school. What do I want to do? What do I want to be? And and that was it. So it came at the right time for me. I
Mm.
was like, right, this is what I want to do. I didn't have the confidence to really see myself as an actor or someone in front of the camera at the time. And so I thought, yeah, for me, it's you can age gracefully behind a camera as well, right? So for me, it was about that it came at the right time, and I thought this is what I want to do. And I told my parents, who speak no English to this day, so I still think they were happy because when I said director, they probably thought I said doctor, maybe. Um, so yeah, they're
Let
like,
them know, let them think
yeah,
that.
this is not what you told us. And yeah, and it's true. Like I struggled for many years actually for them to help them realize exactly what I do at the time. Um, success in our community or wider community isn't always measured in sort of what you're making or what you're putting out there, right? It's
Mhm.
usually something like financial or what car do you drive or what house do you live in or what clothes do you wear. So for my parents, obviously, they were right in their sort of mindset as parents. But
Mhm.
for me initially, yeah, it was difficult to help them understand exactly what I do. I think I've mentioned this before as well that they would look for me in my films or my music videos or the
Oh.
products and like तू तो है ही नहीं तू तो ਸਾਨੂੰ दिखता नहीं. I'm like I'm behind the camera and they're like ਉਹਦਾ ਕੀ ਫਾਇਦਾ and I'm like my name's on there ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਪੜਨਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ है.
Yeah.
So it was like okay great. But there came a time when they did eventually when media, social media, and all of this
Yeah.
kind of entered into common Punjabi discussions, community discussions, and then they're like, yeah, sada munda bhi wahi kuch karda.
Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah,
when you're a sort of a black sheep, my op, I was a creative and my dad called me a night.
yeah,
I started in the cosmetology field and he was like, "Night bar night? Like, what are you doing?" And
yeah,
so like it definitely is a mind change and a shift for them that, give me basic amount, like how are they gonna live? How are they
absolutely,
the name, the fame, all that, right?
yeah.
But where was your support then? So during this journey, were you all like solo? Because I know parents, they see parents, it takes them a while. Like it's not the
Yeah,
typical doctor or anything. But this was a whole different field as well, and still developing, I will say.
Yeah. My support mainly came from my siblings, I would say. Um, and other than that, I think I'm probably going on record for the first time. There wasn't a lot of support, to be honest with you,
Mm,
even from people that I expected would blindly support me. Um, if anything, at times it was the opposite. It was like, these things just don't happen. It's impossible, and you'll never get in touch with that person. You will never break into that circle, and we'll come from a small corner of London,
mhm,
completely detached from the kind of industries and the artists that I wanted to work with. So yeah, there was a lot of, again, I don't know, maybe it was coming from a good place because it was so far fetched, So I don't want to speak too ill of it. But yeah, it was just, you just had to believe in yourself. You
mm.
had to be your own support network first and foremost, and at the same time understand everybody's opinions, but just put them to the back of your head and try to understand where they're coming from. It's different for everybody, still is. Um, so yeah, I would say I was my first and foremost. I was my own support network in wanting to just drive forward and do what I wanted to do.
I agree. You have to have a firm foundation within yourself and believe in
Yeah,
yourself and not
yeah,
let anybody, Hitler not there, your vision, you have to go
yeah.
and do it. So that being said, where was your break, I guess, into the Punjabi community? When did your parents get to see that?
That was probably when I started doing music videos. Now the thing is, so my career objective, right from Hobbit to now, has always been to direct films, write and direct movies,
Mhm.
more so direct. So that was always my goal, and whatever I did, it was to try and help myself on that path. So with music videos, I wanted to make them into mini movies. It
Mm,
wasn't something that I wanted to do forever. The only thing, it was,
mm,
I wanted it to be just another feather in the cap. But ultimately, the goal was to direct films. Even when I was at school, I would film weddings on weekends. Like again, it was just extra pocket money. I was a young kid,
yeah,
and I would try to turn someone's wedding film into a mini movie. The kind of things people are doing now, like they
yeah.
call it cinematic edits, and this was a long time ago, let's just say, and so it's for me, telling stories, turning, like I said, the mundane, the everyday into a story.
Mhm.
It's always been within me. And how did I get into the Punjabi industry? Again, yeah, it was from the music video side of things. Um, when I was at college, I did work briefly at like the BBC on radio, but a lot of that was who you knew. And as a British Asian Punjabi, you have to work twice as hard at least to break down these barriers and enter these doors. Which, yeah, it makes you twice as good as well at the same time, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting into the Punjabi industry was mainly through music videos, local British artists, people that I knew, starting off pretty much, yeah, at the bottom. Just being true to what I wanted to do, true to my vision, true to your aims and objectives. And it's although I've been doing it quite long, for me it's still the beginning. Might
Mm,
sound cliched, but that's how it is. The best really is yet to
yeah.
come.
You have to keep learning. You have to keep an open mind and
Yeah,
still
yeah, yeah.
back to your craft, still going on it. I love that. And so you work with Sartaj and other artists. How was that journey working with them? And there's different music types as well.
Yeah, for me, I've always been a Sartaj fan from day
Mm,
one. I happened across his first ever album purely by chance from a
mhm,
very unexpected source, and I just found myself. I played the first song. I still remember I was working in Delhi, and I just ended up listening to the whole album before going to sleep. And I thought, this is fresh, this is new, it's
mhm,
my kind of thing. There was a little booklet in there with English translations, and I
mhm,
just felt, something fresh, a new approach to an art form. So I was a fan from day one, and I did. If there's one door I've tried to knock on of an artist, it was Sartaj's very early on. 2013, nothing really materialized. Again, just some kid from London trying his luck. And it's only about 5 years after that, through a certain sort of path, that I
mhm.
managed to eventually connect. I think, but I believe it happened at the right time. And so to work with an artist that I was a fan of, it's weird, it's crazy manifestation, because when I listened to his first album and the booklet was in there with the English translations, some of the English I felt was out of context, or it wasn't giving the right message or the right kind of translation. And I was like, God, I could rewrite this. And I do that now. Like Baji, like Sataj Baji sends me some of his songs and it's
Mhm.
like, can you translate this? And how should this be written? So it's almost like someone's up there, the divine. and he's got your strings and he's puppeting you along.
Yeah,
Um,
I love
yeah, so
that.
it's crazy.
It
Yeah,
Sartaj definitely talks about like those dungiya galan that can't be translated, just like with
yeah,
AI or anything like that. And even that, translation, okini actually gist of the meaning, hegi, oh, we need translate. But you got
and
it for our next generation, right? I love.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's been times where I've been on the phone with Baji, no exaggeration, for 2 hours just debating one sentence,
Mm,
the context of one sentence with Satvaj. Again, he's a connoisseur of languages.
yeah,
There was a point where he couldn't speak English, and now he probably knows more English words than I do, and we'll debate certain words and how do they translate and how do you break them down. And
yeah,
this could turn into a podcast on just on that, But it's
yes,
crazy. It's yeah, and it's but you know what? It's like food for your soul.
it
It's
is.
where else are you going to have those conversations?
No, it's
Yeah,
so my mom is a master in linguistic. I used to always make fun of her. I was like, linguistic
right.
master the gigitay. Like but these conversation come up now because it's like horn that, I have kids and they're asking these questions like what Sidhu's ganes or Taj's ganes, Nasib's ganes, and they're
Yeah,
like, they say these words and horn they come up to me, they're like, Mama, what does this mean? Like, "Ida ki matlab hai?" Even my
yeah,
brother who is 19, it's these songs that actually connect us back to our
yeah,
root, and we need to be actually really more mindful about apaki sun rahe hain, te ki pa rahe hain out in the
yeah.
world.
Absolutely. At the same time, we need to understand that language is evolving
Yeah.
all the time. You can't put a cap on it. You can't put a lid on it. I mean, even Gurdas Manji, he made a comment that was taken completely out of context, where he said in India there should be a language that can be understood by everyone in the country. It doesn't mean you give up your mother tongue, but ultimately, even Punjabi itself is a combination of so many languages.
Yeah.
You got Farsi is a big one, right?
Mm.
And now, what is the biggest influence in Punjabi language is probably English.
Yeah.
So if we are going to be critical, then we ourselves should speak Shuddh Punjabi and not have a single word of English in there. How many of us can really do that? Probably
Hmm.
none, not even our parents. Um, so your language, you have to obviously hold it close to your heart, protect it at all costs, but understand that it's going to reflect the times as well. And that goes not just for language, but music, film, all kinds of culture. Otherwise, we would still be, writing on rocks
Mm.
in hieroglyphics.
That's so
So
interesting you say that because literally I was dropping off my son and I was reflecting on like my nanaji used to drop me off at school, and the songs that we used to listen to was like Hansraj Hans and like
yeah.
Patla Singh Vari and like Gurdas Mann. We have that, and then what was it? A couple of other historical things. That's what I would listen to.
Hmm.
And here I am dropping off my kids listening to like Shub and Dior. I was like, and
Yeah, yeah,
Ratia Paya, this boy has Ratia Paya. And I'm like, the fact that you can't speak Punjabi with me, but ek gaane rate hue hai, that blows.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
Absolutely.
that's so interesting. So, where do you vision your next move, or what is the next project that you're working on? A new innovation, or with this time that's changing?
Yeah. So for me, I believe that my art should be a reflection of who I am. So if I'm a Punjabi, but I'm also British.
Hmm.
My films, my influences should, my experiences should influence my work. There's no point just going down one path and not the other. So people say, "Oh, your next film is it a Punjabi film? Is it an English film?" I say, "Look, it's just a film. It
Mm.
has Punjabi language in there. It has English dialogues, has Hindi, it has French, it has whatever the film needs."
Hmm.
So for me, the so I've had one film released so far, but I have three others that are pending
Mm.
due for release. One was delayed by COVID. Another one was delayed because of some international politics, which I'll speak about at some point. Um, but all of these films are a mix. They're a reflection of who I am. One is a film about a farmer's son who wants to sell his land and move to the UK. And another film is about a bank heist. So I mean that's not a reflection of me, but there are elements of me in there.
Mm.
So yeah, for me, it's there's a lot of good things coming, a lot of good things already in the can. Um, Actually, there's an edit that I'm working on now behind me. This is the New York film. Um, so yeah, I'm working on scripts, working on edits, and working on release of certain films. There are different projects in different stages, and for me, I believe in making films not just for our audiences.
Hmm.
That's important, but there's a lot of people doing that. But we need to take our voice global.
Hmm.
Um, and again, like this stigma, like if I'm proposing a script or a project, or I'm working on a project, people say, "Oh, are you making a Punjabi film? Is it a Punjabi film?" And I'll say, "Look, well, the language is Punjabi, majority of it.
Hmm.
The characters are Punjabi. It's deals on Punjabi issues, but um, it's not a Punjabi film based on what you perceive a Punjabi film to be. It's like is Slumdog Millionaire an Indian film?
Hmm.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is Bender like Beckham an Indian film or an English film? What is it? Sometimes we do bracket these things, but yeah, I believe that I would like to continue making films for, and especially for a global audience, especially, but presenting our issues, presenting our identities and things like Netflix and Amazon. Now's the time to do it. It's
I
just
agree. I totally agree. This is a time, especially like what you're saying, the blending culture. Like, there are some people that just have stopped watching Punjabi movies because of this, mundane storylines. There's nothing
yeah,
new this new generation can relate to. Even me, like I try to put on Punjabi movies so like, my parents can sit down, my kids can sit
yeah,
down, we learn. But gay movie it's like what was that Amy Virk's Southern South, like I would just like I refuse to watch that right now. But like some
yeah.
movies, it just like our audience isn't ready for that. So it
Hmm.
also depends on like what kind of audience it is, and tailoring to that audience really is going to matter. And I love how
It,
niche you are about that.
yeah, I think it works at a deeper level, but also at a surface level at the same time. It's like, so you mentioned like Amy Rick kind of movies. There's an audience for that,
Hmm.
the big audience, but and obviously the artists and the filmmakers will say, look, well, we're catering to the taste of the audience,
Hmm.
but perhaps the audience have acquired that taste because that is all that has been presented to them.
Exactly. Yep.
So if you're only going to be feeding somebody comedy, then that's all they're going to know, and
Yeah.
that's all they're going to expect from your genre. From the south of India, we expect action films, or from Hong Kong and China, you expect certain genre.
Yeah.
um
I mean, we did change
but
this for that role in our other, communities. Like we're always the comic relief,
yeah,
and it definitely needs to be changed. That
yeah,
perspective.
absolutely. But we have to be the change
Yeah.
ourselves. I mean, you have people like Diljit, who are challenging. Although again, some things, yeah, you do for money or you do because you're in a particular situation. But and obviously, some artists, they have the understanding that they'll build a platform and then they'll start to bring about the change once they have a captive audience. Um,
Makes sense.
you know, and then okay, now is the time to change. And so I understand. There's no one sort of answer that fits all. There's different ways, different methods. Everything's fluid. Nothing's really black and white. But I think just as an individual, myself, I would just try to be true to the form, true to the art,
Mm.
as much as possible.
Is there any certain actor or person that you want to work with? Not necessarily actor, but like even like another producer, I don't know, collaboration that you are like envisioning that you want to manifest?
Wow. There's a long list, actually,
That's
for me.
good.
But if I'm honest with you, a lot of my career has been based around working with newcomers and seeing them become established names. And even in two of my new films, we have launched complete newcomers. Um, I think there's a joy in finding a talent
Hmm.
and being the first to maybe give them a break, an opportunity, and bring them to the market, bring them to the industry, and then everybody queuing up to want to work with that same person.
Mm.
So for me, I know it's a slightly different answer, but for me, I think nurturing talent rather than chasing talent that exists
So what do you
is
look for, I guess, when in a talent? Like what is what you look for in new talent? Because there's a lot of people out there, especially with Instagram. Like I feel like everybody's an influencer. So how do you weave through that?
I don't look at followers. That's the first thing.
Okay.
So that is completely irrelevant. It's difficult as a producer, so the person who's investing.
Hmm.
That's kind of one of the things they look at. How many followers? What's their engagement? How much of a captive audience do they already have? But me as a creative, I'll be, are they suitable? Are they suitable to the role? Are they authentic? Can they bring a degree of authenticity to the character that they're playing?
Hmm.
Always. And yeah, there's been some disagreements in the past where I've actually, yeah, like for example, a very well known music video that I've created, I won't mention the name. I faced a lot of opposition for casting a particular lead female. No, she's new, nobody knows her, big risk, change the person. But again, stuck to my guns because I knew this person would work, and it changed her career like
Mhm.
overnight. So again, nurturing talent. What do I look for here? Authenticity, passion. I have to get on with the person as well, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, these kind of things. I do get a lot of messages from a lot of people, a lot of influencers, a lot of people on social media saying, I want to act, I want to be in a film, etc., etc. And my standard response, and it's a legitimate response, it's not just to fob somebody else, is thank you. And if there's something suitable,
Hmm.
I will definitely be in touch. And I do get in touch. And I believe there's a role for everybody as well. Um, it has to be suitability. You have to believe that the actor is the character and not just the person that they are in their
Yeah.
everyday life.
I agree. It has to be all in alignment. Everybody has to be in alignment. It has to agree. I
Mm.
even when I used to do photo shoots when I during my cosmetology years, I was so picky about my models. I was yes,
Yeah.
I was one of those people too. But you have to you when you are visioning a certain vision, it has to look
Mm.
the way it does. And like you said, all the alignment, हर एक ਨੂੰ understanding होनी चाहिए about what they're doing and how it's supposed to be. I love that.
Absolutely.
Is there
Yeah.
any
So me.
talent
So
coming out that you have or that you can share with?
absolutely. Yeah. There is. So I've worked with some really good actors in India. A girl called Surinder Kaur. She is an up and coming talent. I think she's our film that we shot was our first film, but I believe she's had one just released yesterday. That will be her actual first debut.
Okay.
Another guy, Mohit Kohli in New York, he's the lead in one of my films. Another Dips Garaya. So there's some names. Again, it always gives me pleasure where I mention the names and everybody's like, okay, whatever. Nobody knows them, and then they look back in a year or two, it's like, oh right, I didn't even know that person was in your movie. Or I didn't even know that person was in your music video. I didn't realize, that kind of thing. Like again, that gives me more satisfaction than chasing talent. But at the same time, yeah, of course, there's a list of actors that I would love
Mm.
to work with.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
Sunny, I'm gonna get a little bit personal. So when in a busy day, Hyundai, you got your Punjabi family household, everything's going on. What do you do for your self-care? Like, how do you like sit back? It can be crazy dealing with all these actors and people. So what is your like go-to self-care? What is your routine like?
I think the hardest thing I find is to switch off from everything,
Mm,
especially kind of when you're your own kind of taskmaster and you're wearing so many different hats. People always say, "Where do you go like for holiday?" And I usually say I go home, because you're always on the road, just here, there, and everywhere.
mhm.
Um, Different country. I mean, what I do if I want to visit a particular country, I will create a concept for a music video based in that country. That's it. It's like
That's a great.
Iceland, yeah, right, yeah, Punjabi music video, Iceland. Let's go, Turkey, wherever.
Uh-huh.
Um, so you're traveling around, so I rarely get a chance to just be home, and literally go home, spend time with family, listen to podcasts. That's a big thing. If I'm driving, I do a lot of driving as well. We're on the road a lot. So just listening to podcasts about things that I otherwise wouldn't engage in discussion about.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it sounds boring, but because life is so crazy,
Yeah.
to relax and to unwind, I'd like to just try and do the least amount as possible.
I love that. So are you in like the country area or are you like in the city area, I guess?
No, in the city of London. Yeah, when I'm home, when I'm in England, it's in the city of London, not far from the centre. And like I said, life is crazy. So I think in this day and age, completely really switching off is an achievement. It's a mission.
It is. I
Yeah, I think it's kind of turned completely on its head. If you'd asked people 20, 30 years ago, what do you do to like relax or connect? Is that I'll go traveling, or I want to just do the kind of crazy things that are just part of everyday life for so many people.
yeah.
Uh,
I love that. Well, was there what kind of motivation or uh support what you like to say to the viewers and listeners as a producer who is, looking for talent that is, we have a bunch of newbies that want to get a break. So उन्नकी सजा दोगे of what to do.
Right. Yeah. The first thing I would say is um, decide for yourself. uh, I think decide for yourself the reasons why you want to do something. So
Mm,
I'll use acting as an example. Is if you're doing it to be famous,
hmm
wrong reason. If
mm,
you're doing it to earn a lot of money, wrong reason. If you're doing act, take it back to its kind of basic form. If you want to act for the joy of acting, then you'll get a lot further. Everything else will just come.
mm,
Um, Everything else really is a byproduct. It shouldn't be the objective. Um, it shouldn't be a distraction. I've had films where we've had influencers, let's say,
mm,
um, making a reel or TikTok at home in the comfort of your own home with
hmm
your camera, with your lighting that is perfect. This window and this at this 3 o'clock, the light shines through this window perfectly. Right, I need to make this reel, and
hmm
you have 1,000 takes, and you speak perhaps over somebody's voice. That's one thing.
hmm
Getting on set with
hmm
80 crew, with dialogues and rehearsals and all of these kind of things, lights, camera, action, everything. It's so
It's
not
almost
everybody
sweaty.
can do it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So just practice, hone your craft. If you want to be an actor, watch films. I'm not saying go to acting school,
hmm
but watch films. That's a good way to do it. And there's so many free resources. You
hmm
can go to things like YouTube, watch acting videos, and that's just acting. But the principles are the same across the board. Just decide what you really want to do. Stick to it. Do it for the right reasons, and then don't listen to anything that anyone says. If it's a good thing that you're doing,
Yeah.
yeah, just stick to it and be patient, especially in this day and age of instant gratification for everything. Just take your time. It will take you 10 years to become an overnight success. So be prepared for it. you
Oh,
know. And
amazing.
anything that comes quickly probably isn't worth having unless you're really, really lucky.
I
Um,
agree. It's the journey actually. The journey is more fun than actually getting to the destination. And if
yeah,
people
well, the journey is the destination a lot of the times, isn't
yeah,
it?
that
Yeah,
is so true. I love that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
before we leave, how can our listeners get in contact with you if they want to get on your get a gig or
yeah.
how they follow you, I guess, and support you?
Sure. Instagram is probably the easiest way to get in
Mhm.
touch. Sunny Dhinsey, you can type it in. Um, there's only one actually, Sunny Dhinsey.
Oh, perfect.
It's yeah. So yeah, it'll bring you straight to me. Instagram. That's probably the easiest way. I don't really use Facebook. Emails sometimes go into the wrong folders and
Mhm.
things. So yeah, Instagram's a good way to connect, and I do get a lot of like requests. Usually it's guys that contact me usually want to sort of be on the behind the camera, like
Mhm.
crew directing, more of the technical stuff. And with the females, it's more I want to be an actress.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
but
So
yeah, and
both of them actually reach out to you, and
yeah,
that's beautiful.
yeah, and I have converted a lot of these initial contacts into like really solid opportunities, and people that are part of our core team around the world have reached out in this way. As I said, you don't need to really go to a film school. You don't really need to go to acting school, but you do need to train. Whether that's you training yourself, whether that is going to an institution, or whether that's coming in as an intern, learning on the job.
Hmm
If you have the passion for it, then we are definitely here to help. Um,
That is
yeah, so you
definitely
do
true.
get in touch.
Passion needs to be there to build that
Yeah,
fire, keep it going.
yeah, because it's not going to be easy. Every day is not going to be, a holiday, or it's not. You're
Yeah.
not going to enjoy every day. In fact, you probably hate it most of the time. But those 2 or 3 days at the end, when the results are there for everybody to see, it
hmm
just negates everything else that went on before,
True.
and it's worth it. Absolutely.
All right. Well, Sunny, thank you so much for taking the time out and chatting with us. This was
Thank
amazing.
you.
And I
Thanks.
can't
Thank
wait for
you.
our listeners to listen to this.
Sure.
All
I'll
right.
send it to my parents as well, and I'll be like, look, see, I am doing things.
Yeah. Now my face is on
Should have
here.
spoken more Punjabi, but maybe we can save that for another one.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Have a good day. Bye.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.